Fluffy sweet potato balls of dough, boiled and pan-seared in a delicious buttery sauce, make for the perfect switch-up on a classic dish. Serve this sweet potato gnocchi as a side dish or main dish, and be sure to wow your family and friends. I'll teach you how, so stick around. Aloha mai kako, my name is Relle and welcome to my kitchen where I like to share all my favorite Hawaiian and local recipes. And today we'll be making some sweet potato gnocchi. While not a Hawaiian dish, it is a twist on a classic dish using common Hawaiian ingredients. Here in Hawaii, we have these sweet potatoes. They're purple, they're super yummy. Some people call them Okinawan sweet potatoes. You can find them at any grocery store, but they make really good dishes. So we'll make some gnocchi, which is like a potato pasta almost. I don't know, don't at me if that's an incorrect explanation, but let's get started. So first, you're gonna take the sweet potato, and what you'll do is you'll poke some forks. Poke some holes with a fork into the skin. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cook it. Now, either you can opt to toss it in the oven and roast it, or you can steam it. You could boil it if you want, or if you're like in a bind, you can toss it with a wet paper towel over it and zap it in the microwave for like 5 minutes. Totally up to you, plenty of different options. Let it cool down. Once it's cooled, so I already did one ahead of time. Once it's cooled, you can just peel the skin off. Now, you'll wanna make sure that the potato is soft enough that it can get pierced by the fork, and that tells you it's done. And as it cools, all you have to do is just peel the skin off like this. Peel that off. All right, once you got it peeled, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put it into a bowl. And you can use a fork, a potato masher, whatever you want. If you put it into a food processor, it does get gummy. So I would say avoid that if possible. If you have a potato ricer, that's the best. I don't have one of those. So, and if there's still like some skin pieces, you can take that off. Smush it up like that. Now, potatoes will vary by size, right? So generally one large potato, about a cup or so. You'll kind of have to play with it. So into the bowl of the potato, we'll also add Parmesan cheese. Fresh grated is best, but they didn't have at the store. They only had the pre-grated one, so that's the one I went with. Some salt. The Parmesan already, just the same thing that happened before. The humidity here, I say that all the time. It gets things stuck to the bowls and whatnot. Anyway, that was salt. An egg. You probably should crack your egg into something first, just to ensure you don't get a dud egg, because if you crack it in here and the egg is yucky, you'll ruin your whole dish. Anyway, an egg, that goes in. And then some flour. You can start with a little bit less flour, like maybe 3/4 of it first, and see the consistency. If you have too much, you add a little bit liquid. If you have too little, you add more flour. You'll add it in small batches. That's the one thing though. You wanna make sure that it goes in. So mix that up. Easiest way is get your hands in there. When it's kind of coming together, you can go ahead and dump it out onto either a flour workspace or a silicone lined or silicone mat. We might have to add a little bit of liquid. The potato was a little dry, which is fine. You can add a little bit of water if need be, but let's see. So we'll dump this out. Yeah, it's kind of dry, but that's okay. That's why we didn't add all of the flour. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of water. You normally don't, but I think because this potato was a little bit dry, we're gonna have to help it along. You probably could add another egg too if you wanted to, but see how it's still really crumbly? Well, add some water and I'll be right back, okay? All right, so I mixed some water in. Because my potato was a little too dry, what I should have did was put it back in and steam it a little to get some moisture back in. But because it was dry, it really made crumbly dough. And even now, you see the little specks of potatoes. It's soft, and if you smush it, it'll smush down. But I think it just didn't get well mashed, but that's okay because it's soft, and so you'll just have the speckles in it. So after you get it to this dough-like consistency, if it's too wet for you, add a tablespoon or so of flour at a time until you get this dough. Now this makes a lot of gnocchi, so you don't have to use it all. It freezes well. Wrap it in plastic wrap or your plastic wrap alternative of choice. Let me get a knife real quick, or not. It's not in that drawer. I used them all. I was trying not to use a good knife. I was just gonna use a butter knife. But anyway, just because I don't want to cut my silicone mat. All right, so let's just do 1/4 of it at a time. You can put this back into the bowl and just cover it up so it doesn't dry out too much. Just put a paper towel over it. All right, I split it into about 4 equal pieces. You'll take one, and what you're gonna do is roll it into a rope about 1 inch thick or so. No special tricks to this. It's just basically a dough that has a sweet potato flavoring. It tastes really yummy. If you can't find purple sweet potato, you totally can use the regular orange ones. I just prefer this one. I really like the flavor of it. And it's part of Hawaii, so okay. I found me some butter knives. So about 1 inch or so, maybe a little bit smaller. What you're gonna do is cut them into little like pillow shapes, maybe 1/2 inch or so. And you'll just cut basically bite-sized pieces you're going for. So what I like to do, you can make it like this. However, what I like to do is put little grooves on it so that whatever sauce you make it in, and I'll show you this delicious sauce after, it'll like, the grooves will help the sauce go into it and be so yummy. So you'll take a fork and you'll go tines down, and then you'll take one little pillow here, and then you'll just roll it down the fork like this. And you see how it makes the grooves here? That'll help the sauce really stick into it. So just a couple of rolls, and it gets you like this oblong shape. No special trick. It doesn't need to like look pretty or anything. You're putting a little bit of pressure so that it kind of flattens, but then it makes that indentation. It almost kind of corkscrews it. And you don't need to press super hard. It doesn't need to be a huge indentation. So you'll do that to the rest of them. And right now we have a pot of salted boiling water. Boil the water, then add the salt because salt water takes longer to boil. Okay, we've got them all rolled out. Like I said, you don't have to do that part, but I like it because it helps the sauce stick to it. Now what we're gonna do is boil it. It just takes 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes. You'll put the gnocchi in, and when they rise up to the top, that's how you know it's done. So you can just use a slotted spoon if you want. You can just toss it in, totally up to you. This is a small enough batch that you probably can just cook all of them. If it's too full, just do them in batches. So give that a couple of minutes. It'll start to float up. We'll take it off, and I'll show you how to make the delicious sauce that goes with this. Stick around. All right, as you can see, the gnocchi have risen up to the top of the water. That means they're done boiling. And then, so we'll scoop that out. Just take a slotted spoon. They are a little tender, so like don't stab at them. Try and drain out as much of the water as you can. I actually kind of like the specks. We'll see. Okay, last one out. So that's good. We're all set. So this will go off to the side. Now we'll make the the sauce. And I'd like to mahalo Foodland Hawaii for sponsoring this video. As always, thoughts and opinions are my own. But what we're gonna make is a sage brown butter garlic sauce. So good. So with that, we're gonna use Maika'i whole peeled garlic. So great, save some time. It's already peeled and ready to go for you. So you can pick that up in the produce department at your local Foodland. So what we'll do is we're gonna start off with the butter. So we're gonna turn it down. Right now it's at high because we're boiling. So it'll go down to medium. We'll put the butter. The butter is kind of already soft just from sitting around. Once the butter kind of starts to bubble and things, you can already add the aromatics in. You just want to keep it moving because you don't want to burn it because that's not good. Brown the butter is like right before that extra burn. So when it starts to get bubbly and brown, that's the perfect. So that, and then a couple of pieces of sage, 1, 2, 5, totally up to you how many. I usually use like 1 or 2, and you'll smell it. It smells so good. And then a couple of cloves of garlic. I like to use a garlic press. I know I tell you guys all the time, one of these. It makes it just so much easier. Toss it in, and all you gotta do is squeeze, and you get like really finely crushed grated garlic. So I'll do like, depends how garlicky you like it. I usually do 2. Oh, if you can smell, garlic and butter just goes so well together. It smells so good. And then once the garlic, so like I said, the big thing, you don't want to burn it, right? So once the garlic and the sage become fragrant, then you're kind of at that point where you're like, okay, we can put in the gnocchi. Gnocchi goes in, and you're just gonna fry it until lightly golden brown and crispy on the outside. If you like them super crispy, by all means, you can cook it longer. If you like it less, you can cook it less. But right now, what's happening is it's soaking up all that goodness, and all those little crevices, the sauce is going into it. So it smells so good. And then once you've got that golden brown crispiness on the outside, you can take it off. The garlic is starting to get a little past where you want it to be, so I want to pull it out before it gets too much. If you want it a little bit more crispy, then you can cook it a little bit longer, but I would turn the temp down so you don't overcook the garlic. And that's how you make sweet potato gnocchi. Perfect swap out for your Thanksgiving meal or for any time. If you like this recipe and you want to see more, then check out this video here. And until next time, ahui ho!
Thank you for watching my mommy.